Christmas Who, Dunces and Dragons, Truth or Square, Atlantis Squarepantis, The Clash of Triton, Shanghai, SpongeBob's Big Birthday Blowout. See the pattern with these episodes? They're all specials, and chances are you at least remember one or two of them, be it for fantastic characterization or infamy for some. But if I were to ask every person in the world to name a SpongeBob special, I bet you 100 plastic gold doubloons from the Flying Dutchman himself that none would say SpongeBob's Last Stand. It's never featured in any worst episode rankings nor any best episode rankings. It is as painfully neutral as they come. Even in its own season, it was outviewed by some of the most hated episodes of the series, such as Someone's in the Kitchen with Sandy or Stuck in the Ringer. What elements make this such a forgettable episode? Or I guess I should say lack of elements. Before we get into this, wait, this isn't a sponsor or an ad read. You don't need to skip. I promise this is important to the video. Okay. Whew. I got your attention. This won't take long, I promise. You probably noticed this video is listed as a fundraiser, and that is for good reason. SpongeBob is of course set underwater, and the creator, Steven Hillenburg, was a marine biologist. So in spirit of the show and creator, I'm using this video to host a Bhutan charity drive. I'm selecting the Ocean Institute, formerly the Orange County Marine Institute, which is based in Dana Point, California. They do a ton of various research and host a wide range of educational events, as well as hosting fun stuff like whale watching or field trips, all for the ocean and its environment. And for those of you well versed in SpongeBob, your head should have perked up the moment I said Orange County, as this is where Hillenburg actually taught for about 2 years, and created a comic called the Intertidal Zone, which eventually boomed into the cartoon giant we know today. What better way to help with ocean conservation than giving back to where SpongeBob began? I have one goal for this charity drive. I want to raise $100. It's not a large goal or anything, but I think it'd be pretty fun. I will personally also match up to $100 as well. Now, I do have some potential rewards for this. If we hit $50, I will personally make a formal apology video where I will swallow my pride and apologize to a show I have slighted multiple times in my videos. If you know, you know. And if we somehow actually hit $100, I will donate an extra $100 for the Ocean Institute's Adopt an Animal program. You guys will be able to select one of the 6, at time of writing, creatures to adopt, and I will receive a certificate of adoption, which I'll show off when complete. Alright, we're back. If you just skipped here, you are missing out on a fun charity drive. You could have the chance to adopt a lobster. Anyways, SpongeBob's Last Stand is all about SpongeBob fighting off a superhighway from destroying jellyfish fields. We open on Sponge and Pat waiting for jellyfish fields to open, and after pestering the poor ranger, they proceed to do what they do best: catch jellyfish. And shockingly, we get a musical number. Now, thankfully this isn't like Atlantis Squarepantis where every 30 seconds we get blasted with a different music number. The jellyfishing song is fine. It's a bit slow, but gets the point across. Sponge and Pat love to jellyfish. This is an established characterization we know, so checks out. The Jamaican accent part is fine, it's whatever. I personally don't really care for the song. It doesn't really say much besides what the opening 15 seconds say. They like jellyfishing. Already, we hit the first and most important reason why this special kinda fails for me: pacing. This is, of course, a special with an extended runtime. Normal episodes are 11 minutes. This bad boy is 22 minutes. That intro and song number, if you can call it that, have us around 2 minutes and 30 seconds, give or take. For reference, by this time in pizza delivery, Sponge and Squid have just gotten lost. It takes us 1:20 in Crabborg for the entire conflict of the episode to be introduced, that being SpongeBob's fear of AI videos. I mean, robots. Sorry. Now, granted, these episodes are all 11 minutes, but they are able to establish the major conflict or story of the episode incredibly fast. I'm not sure why, but in most specials, not just this one, the pacing takes a hefty hit. The 2.5 minutes we've spent with SpongeBob's Last Stand already feel a bit like filler. At least to me. And I would like to clarify, if you enjoy the special, then more power to you. I'm glad you can enjoy it genuinely. Just take what I say with some sea salt. Sponge and Pat spot a billboard advertising the new Shelly Superhighway, a mega urban roadway threatening all of Jellyfish Fields. I really like the Shelly Superhighway. I think it acts as a fantastic conflict for the episode. Instead of individual foes like Flats, the Tattletale Strangler, or even Squilliam Fancy Son, we have more of an overarching foe. It's not a person, it's kinda a force of nature in a way. For now, we'll get to that in a bit later. SpongeBob and Patrick now work their way through town, trying to convince all their friends to help protest the environment-killing highway. Larry, of course, is too busy with his buttery muscles. Mermaid Man and Barnacle Boy don't even get lines in an honestly pretty good joke.
Mermaid Man! Barnacle Boy! Certainly with superpowers like yours, we can stop the super highway!
Dejected, SpongeBob heads to work and consults Mr. Krabs, who reveals he's actually in favor of the highway. More traffic means more money. Duh. What Krabs fails to realize is that the Shelly Superhighway will demolish the Krusty Krab, and all signs point to the Chum Bucket. Our duo goes to confront the nefarious infrastructure supporter.
Don't play coy with us, Shelly. We both know you've been up to no good. Now start talking.
All right, so I've been stealing your mail for the past 5 years. Big whoop!
Not that!
What? You've been what?
Again, I cannot overstate how some of the jokes are just surprisingly good. We're in season 7, you wouldn't expect good chuckles at this point in the show, but this episode has a good timing for a lot of these. More back and forth, we find out pretty much all of Bikini Bottom was in support of the highway. Now we move on to the second music number of the episode. Again, it's fine. I like it better than the first one. A lot of it is kinda just word salad, but it has a nice rhythm to it. We end up with these two hippies, and as a kid, I don't know why, but I always found these designs really ugly. I don't know why as a kid I didn't like them, I just remember thinking, ugh. Our Vietnam protesters get arrested for unlawful usage of a sitar and thrown in the back of a cop car. Sponge is super worried, but Pat reassures him with a tale of his great uncle Cletus, where he performed a freedom march in Bikini Bottom, protesting something we do not know. Patrick also ends this with,
Wow, your uncle sounds like a pretty smart guy, Patrick. What happened to him after he was arrested?
I don't know. He was never heard from again.
okay, whoa. We know that the police department is corrupt and incompetent, but just implying his uncle flat out died is hilarious. And this isn't one of my inconsistencies videos, but like, have you ever seen the police in town do anything helpful? They beat up everything that isn't a criminal and let hardened lunatics go free, and sometimes even harass innocent fish. And the one time they did their job right, it was revealed SpongeBob and Patrick didn't even do anything illegal. What is this town? Our sitar tree huggers are then driven to the middle of nowhere. Sorry, my bad. The edge of nowhere. And that's it for Act 1. Again, the pacing and conflict of the episode really lacks. I already yapped on about the pacing, but the conflict of the story doesn't really feel built up all that well. We're just told about what the highway will do. The stakes don't really feel high way at this point. Yeah, it's a kid's cartoon, I'm not expecting One Piece levels of storytelling or world building or anything, but for a plot involving the highway hasn't shown up much and we're already halfway. We're really not making headway. I mean, the entire plot is supposed to be about a greenway. Man, I just opened the doorway to so many puns in that last sentence, I'm so proud. I guess what I'm trying to say is, I'm not really hooked into the adventure. Dunces and Dragons, it's a medieval quest to defeat the evil sorcerer Planktonomore and save the princess. Christmas Who is about following Squidward and him realizing his selfish, arrogant actions are really pathetic and hurtful, to which he changes his outlook and is rewarded for it. Even Atlantis SquarePantis had a more engaging hook. Follow the characters in a Charlie and the Chocolate Factory-esque tour of the ancient Atlanteans as they learn more and more, and eventually try to escape after causing mass havoc. Here, it just feels like we're following Sponge and Pat around. For such an interesting plot idea, the scope feels oddly small, which is not what you want in a double-length episode. We start off with a long parade gag.
This doesn't look good at all, Patrick.
Does this?
Come on, let's go follow him!
This is what I'm saying, where it fails in plot pacing, it makes up for in joke pacing. It's just random and stupid enough to work, but not so random to come off as too much. Same for this one.
I'm hearing the voices again.
Plankton arrives following the parade in a tractor, ready to start paving over the jellyfish homeland, and we finally get what I've been whining about for the past few minutes. A standoff of SpongeBob versus Plankton and the entire highway. It's given drama and stakes. The conflict finally feels realized, and of course, this being Sheldon J. Plankton, he doesn't hesitate to crush and then tar over SpongeBob. Also, I just want to say on the SpongeBob wiki, this scene of SpongeBob trying to hold off the tractor is listed in the trivia section of this episode as a reference to the 1989 Tiananmen Square Massacre, best known for the famous image of Tank Man. I mean, I guess. Sometimes the SpongeBob wiki is just a bit weird, man. After nothing happens, we get this sick shot of jellyfish fields wilting and decaying away. It's a great shot, and again, is more of what we needed in the episode in my opinion. Having failed to stop the highway, we cut back to the good old Krusty Krab. This is my favorite scene from the episode. The contrast-heavy lighting alongside dim colors is really nice to look at. Jellyfish Fields isn't the only thing affected. It's now the color palette, the mood, the vibe. It's a simple addition, but I love the constant traffic in the background. It's a nice extra element to really hammer home the effects of the Shelly Superhighway. Graffiti lines the concrete. Squid describes the Krusty Krab as cold. The lighting and skyline are dark and murky. It feels so claustrophobic and condensed. We won't see much of this in the rest of the episode, which is such a shame. I really like the idea of this concrete jungle. I honestly wish they would have gone further with it, because right now we only have 5 minutes left. Yeah, I'm not kidding. With all hope gone, despair sets in for Eugene Krabs. He activates Plan Z-9er and prepares to sell the secret formula to Plankton. We cut to Plankton, who, is relaxing and rides up on his tiny Segway to Krabs and starts negotiations. Though before they can begin, a massive swarm of jellyfish besiege the chum bucket. SpongeBob and Squidward also come across a similar scene. All of Bikini Bottom is bombarded by jellyfish. Stings rattle out amidst cries of pain, buildings crumble to flames, smoke clogs the air, Krabs dodges a jolt-ridden death, but Plankton is not so lucky. Finding a news reporter on the scene, SpongeBob makes a last-minute plea to the town and finally convinces them to help. Everyone approaches the cause of all the trouble, that terrible superhighway. Sponge manages a tractor, but finds not even the machinery that created the highway able to uproot the tar and asphalt-ridden roadway. Howling one last cry of vengeance from the top of his bucket, Plankton emerges. Even covered in wounds from the jellyfish, he holds stalwart in his plan. He's come this far and is not going to let a simple sponge stop his plan. The town citizens volunteer themselves as additional manpower to finally break the highway. Larry's again buttery muscles will help, but he brings with him more allies. Sandy Squirrel, who totally wasn't an afterthought here and has the wrong last name. Mermaid Man and Barnacle Boy, entirely just uncaring, which is maybe my favorite running joke. Patrick also shows up again, bolstering the fighting spirit. And finally, the greatest ally they have, Squidward! Still lacking power, the entire town bands together in a rare moment of kindness, and together they slam into the tractor. The mechanical talons finally dig under the pitch-black road, and the tractor finally dislodges the path, swirling it up and crushing Plankton in the process. Sponge goes through the entire town and utterly destroys the Shelly Superhighway, freeing the Krusty Krab in the process. Say what you will about Plankton being evil, but his highway did support the weight of a heavy load-bearing vehicle. Following the trail back, Sponge upends the last few bits of the highway, reviving jellyfish fields in the process. The flowers bloom, the sun shines, the grass grows, and brother, I hurt people. All the jellyfish are brought back as the townsfolk celebrate their victory over urban construction. We also get a small reprisal of the jellyfishing song. And that's it. I guess I was wanting more of a confrontation or a fight, but I mean, it gets the job done, mostly. Alright, what's up? We're on day 2 of recording. Hopefully my voice actually sounds energetic now instead of whatever happened last time. So now with that done, I think my argument about filler and again pacing shows a bit more. The conclusion is incredibly quick. Now, I'm not a writer and I'm not even going to try to make a quote better version of the story, but I think hyping up the highway a bit more would have made this, more engaging. I personally would have preferred more of that standoff, Sponge versus the world bit that we had with the Tank Man stuff. I'd give this special probably like a 6-ish out of 10. It's perfectly serviceable, and explains why nobody really remembers it. The worst aspects are nowhere near bad enough to warrant hate for the episode, again like Atlantis Square Pantis, nor did it have a ratings trap like Truth or Square. I can also talk some more trivia on the episode. The coolest thing here is actually what isn't here. There was an interview with Derek Iverson, one of 3 credited writers for the episode, with a site called Tiny Deal on Facebook. I just want to say, I hate Facebook so much. Turns out you now need an account to even view stuff, so I had to jump through a ton of hoops just to find this single interview that was only conducted on Facebook. Thanks, Mark. really cool. We have some basic questions, such as Iverson's amazing and enchanting beard, or how he got to where he is today, but we are interested in questions 5, 7, and 9. I'm not going to repeat the entire question and answer here, but after ironing out the story, we learned that Aaron Springer, storyboard director and known deity to the SpongeBob community, was handed the story and apparently just doused the entire thing with comedy. Definitely shows. Props to him. Also, I just want to show off a clip from a behind-the-scenes special for the first season.
Aaron Springer is a cartoon genius.
Basically describes all you need to know about the guy. One of the interview questions also references one Ecolodian, which Iverson states is a bunch of people at Nick's animation studio helping to spread the word of environmentalism and just be, really cool people. This is really interesting, because after a quick Google search, Ecolodians seem to catch on. As there's a video from Nickelodeon about their 2019 Earth Day event, it's exactly what you would expect, and another article makes reference to people coming together in 2016 to really put Ecolodian into action. But that was 2016. SpongeBob's Last Stand was made in 2010, so I gotta wonder if Ecolodian was a super small idea composed of a few people that eventually grew more and more. Are there any parts of your original premise / outline that didn't make it into the final episode? With the exception of the Rip Van Winkle sequence, the choking dust cloud enveloping Bikini Bottom, and the entirely different storyline, I'd have to say no. Not really. This is the smoking gun, our wham moment. Remember all my complaints earlier about pacing, filler, and a lack of cemented conflict? This addresses all of it. Hi, it's me from the future. I forgot to, actually explain the story. Rip Van Winkle is a short story made by Washington Irving, published in 1819. Long story short, it follows a guy named Rip Van Winkle. He finds some Dutch guys, gets absolutely plastered, and falls asleep. He wakes up and finds himself set 20 years into the future. He explores his new world, finds out some of his family died, and goes back to being lazy. Albeit now incredibly old, so it's justified. Alright, future me is tagging out, so go to past me, or present me, or whatever it is, you get it. This is a really interesting idea to plug into a SpongeBob story. I'm going to assume this would be a segment similar to the time travel stuff from the second movie, where we find a much older world that suffers from the consequences of the past. This is assuming Plankton still builds the highway and the world now suffers, yada yada. It's honestly quite fresh and has a ton of various takes you could go with, but combine that with Iverson's other part of the answer, a choking dust cloud enveloping Bikini Bottom. Now this is a conflict. It's likely caused by all the infrastructure and machinery, but I'd like to see how it ties in with the jellyfish. I'm assuming it would take a similar approach as the Dust Bowl of United States history in the 1930s. Bad conditions as well as terrible practices from farmers led to storms that kicked up tons of dust. Just looking at old photos tells you all you need to know. This stuff is terrifying. I'm gonna plagiarize the History Channel here. Storms reached 65 miles per hour. There is enough static electricity in this one specific storm to power New York City. They are called black blizzards. You literally had to tie and anchor yourself if you wanted to go out and walk amidst a storm. They developed in the Great Plains, and by May 11th, 1934, a 2-mile high dust storm punches 2,000 miles away to the East Coast. The Statue of Liberty and the US Capitol are completely shadowed by thick clouds of dust. About a year later, the crown now falls to a new storm. April 14th, 1935, soon to be known as Black Sunday. Churning through Oklahoma and eventually Texas, this Goliath ripped up everything. A few people kept reports or journals. One person, Avis D. Carlson, writes, "The nightmare is deepest during the storms. But on the occasional bright day and the usual gray day, we cannot shake from it. We live with the dust, eat it, sleep with it, watch it strip us of possessions and hope of possessions." I think you can see how this would maybe change the plot of a SpongeBob episode. I'm gonna be honest, I would kill to see that plot instead of the jellyfish stuff. Instead of just jellyfish showing up at the end, a thick dust cloud just permeates the entire town. Oh man, I really want to see that. But sadly we didn't get that, and likely never will. If anything, it just reminds me of Frostpunk, if any of you have played that. Especially the final, event, let's just call it. There's some other trivia and special stuff about this episode, like this weird DIY sponge video, but that's really it. It's a little sad that a random short we had in season 4 called The Endless Summer got the entire point down and achieved its goal in 2 minutes. SpongeBob's Last Stand, as one comment on the wiki says, it sandbags at times. Meanwhile, the short is funny, has great pacing, and gets the message across in a clean and concise manner. I think the special lacks character, which again is a shame because what is good here is really good, but all the bad elements are just so painfully mediocre. I don't really feel a desire to go and watch it again. It definitely is a story. I think that's the best way I can put it. I do think it could have reached higher though. Going back to Iverson's interview, the cut elements are by far the most interesting stuff of the episode. That's all I got for you. I've been B-Tan. Thanks for watching.